Alright folks, we're back. Welcome back. So we go right back into the other phase of the story. Still at chapter 10. And you know how your father loved you, his beautiful dancing Kathy, who would make the world sit up and take notice when she came on stage. You recall your first ballet performance? When you were 4, you wore your first pink tutu and made a few mistakes, and everybody in the audience laughed and you clapped your hands like you were proud. Even so, and your father sent you a dozen roses. Remember? He never saw any mistakes you made. In his eyes, you were perfect. And 7 years after you came to bless us, our twins were born. Now we had 2 boys and 2 girls, and had tempted fate 4 times, and had won. 4 perfect children. So if God had wanted to punish us, he had 4 chances to give us deformed or mentally retarded children. Instead, he gave us the very best. So never let your grandmother or anyone else convince you that you are less than competent, less than worthy. And even although this is a story, I must say this, and I always say this to persons. Never, I repeat it again, never let anyone convince you that you are less than competent and less than worthy. Always tell people that. Don't let anybody make you feel inferior. Don't let pay people any mind when they start with the negativity. So persons, always remember that. Or less than holy, pleasing in God's eyes. If there was a sin committed, it was a sin of your parents, not yours. You are the same 4 children all our friends in Gladstone envied and called the dolls. Keep remembering what you had in Gladstone. Hold on to that. Keep believing in yourselves and in me and in your father. Even if he's dead, keep on loving and respecting him. He deserves that. He tried so hard to be a good parent. I don't think there there are many men who care as much as he did. She smiled brightly through glistening tears. Now tell me, who you are. The dolls, Chris and I cried out. Now, will you ever believe what your will you ever believe what your grandmother says about being the devil's spawn? No, never, never, we said. Yet, half of what I'd heard from both women I would have to ponder over later, and ponder deeply too. So this is Kathy speaking now. Let me repeat. So this is the daughter Kathy speaking now. I would have to yet half of what I'd heard from both women, so that's her mother and the grandmother. Yet half of what I'd heard from both women I would have to ponder over later, and ponder deeply too. I wanted to believe God was pleased with us and in who and what we were. I had to believe, needed to believe. Nod, I told myself. Say yes, just as Chris did. Don't be like the twins who only stared at mommy, not comprehending anything. Don't be so suspicious. Don't. So while she heard her mother saying all of that, I guess deep down, she was suspicious. So sound, mother and sound genuine. Chris climbed up in the firmest of convince. Chris chimed up the firmest of convincing voices. Yes, mommy, I do believe what you say. For if God had disapproved of your marriage to our father, then he would have punished you and daddy through your children. I believe God is not narrow-minded and bigoted, not as our grandparents are. How can that old woman speak so ugly when she does have eyes and she can see we are not ugly and not deformed And certainly, we are not retarded. Relief like a river, relief like a river dammed and released, caused tears to stream down Mommy's beautiful face. She drew Chris close against her breast, kissing the top of his head. Then she cupped his face between her palms, stared deep into his eyes, ignoring the rest of us. Thank you, my son, for understanding, she said in a husky whisper. Thank you again for not condemning your parents for what they did. I love you, Mommy, no matter what you did or do. I'll always understand. Yes, she murmured. You will. I know you will. Uneasily, she glanced at me, who stood back, taking all this in, weighing it in on her. Love doesn't always come when you want it to. Sometimes it just happens. Despite your will, she bowed her head, reaching for my brother's hands and clinging to them. My father adored me when I was young. He wanted to keep me always for himself. He never wanted me to marry anyone. I recall when I was only 12, he said he'd leave me his entire estate if I stayed with him until he died of old age. Suddenly, she jerked up her head and looked at me. Did she see something doubting, something questioning? Her eyes shadowed, grew deep, dark, grew deep, dark. Join hands, she ordered forcefully, bracing her shoulders, releasing one of Chris' hands. I want you to repeat after me. We are perfect children, mentally, physically, emotionally. We are wholesome and godly in every way possible. We have as much right to live, love, and enjoy life as any other children on this earth. She smiled at me and reached for my hand to hold in her free one and asked that Chris and Corey join the family chain. Up here, you are going to need small rituals to get you through the days, little stepping stones. Let me lay down a few for you to use when I'm gone. Kathy, when I look at you, I see myself at your age. Love me, Kathy. Trust me, please. Haughtily, we did as she directed and repeated the litany that was ours to say whenever we felt in doubt. And when we had finished, she smiled at us with approval and reassurance. There, she said with a happier look. Now don't think I have lived through this day without the four of you constantly on my mind. I have thought and I have thought of our future, and I have decided we cannot continue to live here, where all of us are ruled over by my mother and father. My mother is a cruel, heartless woman who just happened to give birth to me, but who's never given me any ounce of love. She gave all of that to her sons. It was my foolish belief when her letter came that she would treat you differently from the way she treated me. I thought by now she would have mellowed with age. And once she saw you and knew you, she would be like all grandmothers and welcome you with open arms and be charmed and delighted to have children to love again. I so hoped once she got a look at your faces. She choked up, near tears again, as if no one with good sense could help but love her children. I can understand her dislike for Christopher. And here she hugged him tightly and kissed his cheek. For he looked so much like his father. And I know she can look at you, Kathy, and see me. And she never liked me. I don't know why. Except, perhaps, my father liked me too much and that made her jealous. But never did it cross my mind that she could be cruel to any of you or my little twins. I made myself believe people change with age and they realize their mistakes. But now I know how wrong I was. She wiped away her tears. So that is why tomorrow morning early I am driving away from here and in the nearest city. I will enroll in a business school that will teach me how to be a secretary. I learn to type, take shorthand, to do bookkeeping and how to file and everything a good secretary has to know. I learn. When I know how to do all of these things, I'll be able to find a good job that will pay an adequate salary. And then I'll have enough money to take you all out of this room. We'll find an apartment somewhere nearby so I can still visit my father. Soon we'll all be living under the same roof, our roof, and we'll be a real family again. So I'm gonna stop right there for this evening. Still at chapter 10. We're not finished chapter 10 yet. And chapter 10 is long. Yeah, we come back on, we'll finish it. So I'm gonna pause right there. And we'll be back, and I will not take so long to be off again. I want to try and be as consistent as possible. So I will be back on in short order. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening as usual. I appreciate it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Leave your comments. Still waiting to hear a comment. Not here. Still waiting to read your comments. Still waiting. Alright, and you can always go on YouTube, type in Karen Vibes, so that's KRENVIBAS with an exclamation sign, and you can go on and if you want to re-listen what I read before and pick up where I left off, not a problem. Alright folks, so have a productive evening. I'm going to get back to varnishing some more stuff. It's getting dark, so I'm going to see how much I can do. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back on. So peace out, take care of yourselves, bye.